Hello everyone, Joe Morton here for this edition of Positive In, a YouTube channel dedicated to putting positive into our lives every day so positive can flow out in all the roles that we play. And yes, I believe that's possible. And yes, I practice it, and so I want to share this with you. All right, today the word is abundance. I want to focus on abundance and how powerful this word really is. Now, what does abundance mean? A lot of times when people think of abundance, they think of monetary abundance, they think of wealth, they think of material possessions, which is part of it. But let me tell you, I printed up a bunch of just dictionary definitions of what abundance is. Let me tell you, there's one here: a copious supply, great amount. Number two, fullness or benevolence, from the abundance of my heart. Number three, a degree of plentifulness. There's another one here: an extremely plentiful or over-sufficient supply or quantity. Or number two, overflowing fullness, abundance of the heart. Then it does mention abundance of affluence and wealth. And so that's part of it. Physics and chemistry, there's abundance of atoms and isotopes. And anyways, we're not going to focus on the chemistry part today, but we're going to focus on abundance in our lives. What does this mean? When I think of abundance, I think of abundance of family and friends and relationships. I think of abundance of happiness. I think of abundance of energy, abundance of health, abundance of positive thoughts, abundance of beauty, abundance of gratitude, bliss, abundance of joy, abundance of love, abundance of compassion, abundance of talent, abundance of money and material goods, abundance of ideas, abundance of sales, abundance of business. Can you see my point? How this goes and goes and goes? Abundance. Let's take, for example, abundance of happiness. There is an abundance of happiness out there. And you meet these people, don't you? You go, oh my gosh, they're so happy. They're just great to be around, and they have this certain vibration, this awesome vibration. You just love to be around them. An abundance of beauty. I went for a run this morning with my son in the mountains. Absolutely gorgeous. We live in Utah with this incredible mountains. We went running. It started off when it was dark, running at the light of headlamp. And then as we went on a little further, the sun was rising over the mountains. It was so beautiful. And a couple times my son and I just stopped and went, oh, it was like an abundance of beauty. Oh, abundance of love, abundance of gratitude. We can be grateful for so much that we have around us. Abundance of love for people, a love for life, a love for nature, a love for people, a love for your business and what you do. So, how do we get abundance in our lives? First of all, we need to welcome it in our lives. But see, interesting thing is 90 to 95% of what we do is subconscious. Okay? Subconscious meaning we wake up, we do certain things, we just do it. We just go through the motions. We say that thing. You know what I mean? We go through the motions. Yeah, I went through the motions today. Sometimes, now that I mention this, how did you get to work today, or wherever you're watching this? Maybe you're watching this from home. How did you get from work back and forth, and how did you get to places? Well, you drove. Do you remember the details of those driving? You know, it becomes subconscious for us. The longer we drive, the more. Do you remember tying your shoes this morning? Chances are probably not a whole lot, because it's become subconscious to you. We do things subconsciously, so much of what we do. When we're learning something, it becomes a lot more conscious, but subconscious. Now, what goes along with this as well is what we've told ourselves, our beliefs. The beliefs that we hold. A lot of them, these are subconscious beliefs of what life is supposed to be. If we have a belief, subconscious belief that people are generally unhappy, that the world is an unhappy place. Why? There's a myriad of things. I'm not going to go through all the details here. I'm just using happiness as an example. If we believe that an abundance of happiness is not possible because we watch the news every day, what's happening when you watch the news? You're seeing negativity. For the most part, it's probably, I haven't done the statistics, but I'm going to say, guess 70% is negative, approximately, give or take a little bit. 70% is negative. So if we're doing this, if we're watching the news, if we've been modeled after by watching certain people in our lives, whomever they may be, your family members, friends, neighbors, coaches, teachers, whomever they may be, it doesn't matter. Well-intentioned people, but just seem to be chronically unhappy. We may subconsciously think that's what the world is like. Or if we think that abundance is for someone else, an abundance of wealth, an abundance of material goods, well, it's okay for that person on the other side of the tracks, but on this side of the tracks, it's not the way it is. This is your lot. Or someone has told you, for whatever reason in your mind, the love of money is the root of all evil. Oftentimes that's brought through our minds as money is the root of all evil. And yet it's not that. The love of money. And so we tend to maybe put in a box that money is bad, whatever it may be. Or that particular kind of car, well, I can't drive that. It's okay for that person, but I couldn't drive that. I'd be uncomfortable with driving that. Or you might say, there's a difference. You're saying, I wish to have this, but in your belief, in your subconscious, you're actually thinking something else. I can't do that. I can't be successful. I can't be a good salesperson. I could never sell. Oh, I could never sell. It's for that person, but it's not for me. I could never live in that house. I wish to have that house, but I can never live in that house. See my point? You may not even know you're doing it. We don't even notice oftentimes what we're doing because it's subconscious. So how do we reprogram the subconscious? Here it is. Here's one of the tricks. One of the tricks. I am abundance. Try it. Utter those words. I am abundance. Try to hold that thought. Hold that emotion. Hold that feeling for at least a minute. Some experts say a minute is enough per day. I like to do it much more than that. I try to hold it for a minute to 2 minutes multiple times throughout the day, sometimes even longer. It's fun. I am an abundance of love. I'm an abundance of happiness. I'm an abundance of gratitude. Go for that. Gratitude, my goodness. You can't stop with all the gratitude that exists around the things that we can be grateful for. I am an abundance of joy. I have an abundance of beauty. I am abundance. I am an abundance of sales if you're a salesperson. I'm an abundance of business. I have an abundance of business. Tell yourself that. I have an abundance of ideas. I am abundance. Reprogram that belief. Reprogram that subconscious. And watch what happens. Suddenly we'll find abundance all around us, surrounding. And I'm not saying in the first day, suddenly you're going to have money thrown your way or whatever. Again, we tend to think that with abundance. But imagine if you can start having an abundance of happiness today, an abundance of joy, an abundance of energy, of positive thoughts, of health and wellness, an abundance, finding that abundance of beauty that exists all around, including in yourself, an abundance of love. What would happen in your life if you had an abundance of love? And maybe you do have a lot of love, but what if you took it up a couple notches? An abundance of compassion. And I believe in abundance of wealth. Doesn't mean because it's for someone else that they have it, that you can't have it. Just because that person's driving that car doesn't mean that you can't have that car. Just because that person's living in that house doesn't mean that you can't live in that house. Just because they are experiencing an incredible amount of sales in their sales force doesn't mean you cannot have those sales. There's an abundance in this world. An abundance. It's for everyone, not for one person, not for two, but for everyone who wants it. Joe Morton here for this edition of Positive, and thanks for listening. And I encourage you to attract that abundance by believing and changing that belief system, that subconscious, that you are abundance. Make it a great day. Thank you.